Yeah, good afternoon, everybody here. This is the last hour I think we spent together today in workshop. I hope you are tired and you have learned a lot today. And so our topic for this workshop is Expectations, Black and White. A study about the conversion of young people. Actually, this data is coming from Germany and also from Swiss. So I have analyzed these two countries, but I will explain what it is. I would like to pray at the beginning, and then we will enter the topic. Lord Jesus, thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk about our young people, how they get converted, what is their feedback about the conversion process. So we pray that you may bless us and guide us and give us wisdom how we can assist future young people making decisions for you, in order they can do it easier and in order they can get assistance whenever they get problems and difficulties on this way to you. So we pray that you may bless us and guide us this afternoon. This is our prayer in the precious name of Jesus Christ. Amen. So, expectations, black and white. I'm presenting you the data of a conversion study we have done in Germany and in Swiss. We have analyzed quite many, actually 914 people being baptized between 1999 and 2008. But actually, most of the people, about 90% of the people, have been baptized between 2005 and 2008 or 9. We have taken a control group from 99, actually, in order to be able to compare the data. I have filtered out the data, so the data I am presenting, is about people under the age of 26. That means maximum 25 years old people are involved. The answers are coming from the age group of 14 to 25. So all these answers, and as you see here, we have got about 438 answers, and that means 438 is big enough in order to pay attention to it and listen to the results of this study. Actually, so all the data I'm going to present to you, except with one exception, whenever I talk about demographical data, it is not coming from this survey, but I will mention it always whenever I tell you that. From which background are these people coming? We have 359 people, young people coming from Seventh-day Adventist background, answering this questionnaire, and we have 79 young people coming from non-Adventist background. Actually, I could have filtered out and I could make a difference between these two groups, but because of the time is too short now, and it would take a lot of time to differentiate. Sometimes I will tell you what is the difference between them, but usually I just put them together in order to save time. That means I will analyze these two groups together, but sometimes I will look at the differences also, but because of lack of time, I think it is better to talk about more topic than to go deeper into the details. So I would like to start with the demographical data in order to talk about some issues related to young people. So this is not coming from conversion study. I've analyzed several conferences in Germany and also the German-speaking conference in Swiss about the demographical data and the development of the conferences. And what I found, for example, in all conferences I analyzed so far, we have 60% women and 39 to 40% men. This is from North Germany, and this is from Swiss, actually. This is from Swiss, 59% women and 41% men, which creates an interesting picture about our church. That means we have the majority of women in the church, and this is raising also a question. One question is, for example, if we have more women as men, that means we have here about 10% or 20% who are not able to get married actually in the church. Where are the husbands coming? Maybe it would be healthy to introduce polygamy in order to solve the problem. Not to get a husband outside of the church. But if we are not ready to accept polygamy, we need to face that quite many women are having husbands outside of the church. I also analyzed some conferences, and I saw, for example, in the Berlin Mitterdeutsche Vereinigung, in the Berlin conference, that we have about more than 800 women or sisters in the church having husband from outside. That means they're having a mixed marriage, actually, which is also a very specific challenge for the conference. More than 800 women having a husband outside from outside of the church means also tensions, struggles at home, the question of children, where are they going, are they coming to the church or not? So they need a specific support actually from the side of the church. If we consider that also some men are having non-Adventist wives, that might create an even growing problem, because if some men are having wives from outside, which is true, we might have only within this one conference around 1,000 women living in this situation, having not Adventist husband, and this is a special challenge for people. Another challenge I discovered through the demographical studies, these are the churches, and I analyzed the distribution, where these young people are living, under the age of 20, the location to which church are they connected. And I just discovered that in 18 churches, for example, in one of the conferences, in 18 churches we have 49% of young people, and in the rest of 133 churches we have 51% of people. What does it mean? Here we have a higher concentration of young people. They can have teams, they can have a youth work, but the rest is distributed in 133 churches, which means that there is a very, very low concentration. They don't have friends maybe in the churches, in the local congregations. They don't have youth meetings. They always need to travel to find friends. That means they are having a challenged situation, and this is a challenge for them to get connected to Adventist young people. And if we think about it, we can recognize they are not always ready to travel, so many of them don't have the chance to have a socialization process within the church. Where do they get their friends? Maybe outside of the church. And we need to consider that maybe one option would be to do much more for networking with these young people, helping them to come together, supporting them in their travel expenses, and so on and so on. This is another age group, 21 to 30. We have here in this conference 683 people in this group, and we see that 19 churches, local congregations, having about 49% too, and the rest, about half of them, are distributed also in other half of the church, which is presenting the same issue like with the other one. We see here, for example, the age group of the churches. We see that, for example, in northern Germany, the churches are quite old. You see the age structure of the church. Around 44% of them are above the age of 60. No. Around 30% of them are above the age of 70. That means within 10-15 years of time we are going to lose how many percent? No, maybe 30 to 40% of the people. What about here? This part. We see that this is actually the weakest part of the church, the youngsters. Yes?
Is that all members of the church?
All members. This is just members of the church. Yeah.
That explains the lack of people in 0 to 20.
Here, 0 to 20? Yes, but look at this here. Yeah, 21. I will tell you that according to my surveys, we don't baptize Adventist young people beyond the age of 21. Either you baptize them up to 21 or you don't baptize them anymore. That means we don't add usually to this number. That means it is a shrinking church actually what we are having here. Because 21 is going to remain at this age, at this size, except we find ways to connect adults and reach adults. And this is the Swiss conference, German-speaking conference. It looks a bit better, but we see here we have a very strong group in the church in the age of 50 to 60. But also here we see the problem, the decreasing size of younger age groups. And if we consider that actually we baptize very few people in this age here, in the age above 30, actually that means that here above 30 the church is not growing in Europe. Adult mission among adults is not functioning. That means the only support that our church is receiving, that is youngsters we are baptizing. That means that is a challenge. If we have less and less young people, with this change is also our church a bit dying or decreasing because we are not able to reach adults. Conversions, I also analyzed whom we are baptizing, and this is a demographical study of converted people. We see that we are two groups here. Young people coming from Adventist background, this is blue on the picture, and young people coming from a non-Adventist background, this is green on this picture. And we see that actually the majority of people we are baptizing are who? Our Adventist young people. And we baptize them from age 14 to 21. And at the age of 21, there's a radical decrease, of baptisms, you see. Shall we lift it higher a bit?
Das.
Yeah. So, a bit higher now. So we can see that we are baptizing this age group, and at the age of 21 we actually stop baptizing people. We baptize very few of them. You see the blue lines here. It's dropping. But what percentage are we baptizing here? What do you think? Of young people? How many? 20? No, around 30 to 40, 45 maximum. It's usually maybe 40, 35, 40 in Europe. That means we are baptizing about 30, 35, 40% of young people, and those whom we don't baptize in the age of 21, usually we don't baptize anymore. Here are some, but very few actually, and later almost nothing. What conclusions can we make out of it? One conclusion is we need to help young people to make a decision and to get to know Jesus Christ before they reach the age of 21. And the second conclusion, we need to ask the question, why don't we baptize people growing up in the church after the age of 21? What do you think? Why don't we baptize? What is your idea about it?
They're no longer in the church.
They are no longer in the church. Why?
Study somewhere.
They go and study somewhere.
That's what I wanted to say too.
Yeah, study.
Or married.
Married. Do we have any special program for them in the church from the age 21? Do we have anything to offer? They don't like joining youngsters in the age of 14 in a youth meeting. Is it true? It's not their group, so they leave, and our church is not offering them anything actually for young adults. And there's also something special I also analyzed. I will tell you in the next slide. Up to the age of 31, the majority are single, not married. Up to the age of 31, the majority of these people are single. You see here on this slide here. We go back. I analyzed here. These are blue line means they are single. A red line is married, and the yellow line is the total number of young people. And you can see here The blue line is single, and at the age of 31, happens a turning point that we have more married people in the church as single. In this age group, you see that? That means from the age 21, if we go back, 21 to 31, actually, they are single. The majority of young people are single. That is the time they study, they move, they become independent, they are looking for partners, they are looking for friends. This is the most, they are looking for a job, they are looking for a flat or house where to live. This is the most challenging time, and this is the time exactly where our church is doing what? Nothing. So this is one conclusion. Statistics are telling us we have to discover our responsibility for these people here. Exactly, this is the time they need support from the church. They need networking assistance from the side of the church, And I am happy that some pastors recognize it and they are already working on some project. But think about it. We need to offer something for these people in this age. If we don't do anything, we cannot expect, people becoming loyal to the church, because church is not interesting for them. It is just taking my time. My study needs my attention and my time. Finding a job, finding a wife and a husband takes time. Is it true? So why shall I go to the church? What remains? What else do I need in the church? The church is not offering all this. The options could be maybe programs like youth meetings for young adults in the church, networking, for example. If they are moving from one city to another city, we could assist them, with finding a flat. Some kind of service for them could be interesting, or they are studying, church members or even local churches could assist them to find a flat or something to stay and to receive care and support. So that means we see that this is a time or a period of life they experience a lot of challenges with little support from the church. We also checked where people are coming from which background, and we see that most of them are coming from Adventist background. But we here see also those who are not coming from an Adventist background, what kind of people we are reaching. And we see that we are reaching Catholics and Lutherans, and also some evangelical churches, very few Baptists, but very little secular, very few secular people. So we can actually conclude that we are not reaching young secular people with our activities. We have very few of them, and why it happens, we need to think about it. Maybe we need to adjust something in our approaches to secular young people, because we are not able to get their attention and receive them in the church. Yes?
So the statistic before was just young people. It's not like.
This is all. This is demographic part. This is all. Not only young, but also young people included.
Okay. So it's basically all people from all age.
All
groups.
people, but actually, I would say about 60% of them are young people here. Because mostly we baptize young people under the ages of 20, 25. Yeah. So now we come to the conversion part. These statistics are about young people, and this is the conversion study done by IKO Institute and in cooperation also with Friedensau. So there are some questions I filtered out. So if you have some questions or you want to know, I can look, and even now I have started SPSS on my computer, and I can also look if you are interested in that, or we can design this part as a conversation. If you want to talk and comment, raise questions, feel free to do that. I have prepared a presentation with a lot of statistics. I don't know whether you like statistics or not, but it is interesting to look at the feedbacks of young people, because these are very important information for us about what they are experiencing, how they connect to the church, how they experience Bible studies and preachings, what needs they have and what problems they have in the church. So the question was, before baptism, I thought a lot about God and faith issues. So you see here, SD and non-SD. I separated because it makes sense here. What was the attitude of young people we baptized to faith issues? And in the red, you see the non-SD people, and in the blue, you see here the people coming from a Seventh-day Adventist background. You see that most of them actually, around 80% of them were thinking intensively about faith issues and also about God. And very few said actually, if I could say maybe 2% of them said, no, I didn't think about God and faith issues at all before my baptism. That shows us that we are actually baptizing people who are busy with the questions related to God and church and so on and so on. Most of them were sometimes, at least sometimes, here that is sometimes, or they didn't answer the question, were not hesitating, maybe they didn't remember, or they didn't want to say anything about it. That means we see that we reach people who are interested on the spiritual matters, and those people get baptized, but very few will be baptized who are ignorant, before they connect a church or make a decision. What happened? How did you decide to do steps in order to develop your faith? Did other people connect to you and talk to you and raised interest on faith issues, or were you searching by yourself for answers related to faith questions? And we see here that many of them actually were connected to other people. Almost 50% of them here, you see here, were connected by others. They were not searching, they were not looking intensively. So they might thought about faith issues, but they were not undertaking almost anything. But people came to them, almost 50%, and they connected them, they challenged them. That was the way actually how they came to the point that they decided for Jesus Christ and also for baptism. That is actually giving us a feedback also. It is good to talk to young people, to connect them, and to ask them questions, because about 50% of them started developing faith because someone talked to them, connected to them. And we see also that about 50%, maybe 54, 55% of them, they became active just by themselves, looking for God and answers of life questions. Yeah. The next question was question 15. So, which attitude did you have before your conversion process to Adventists? How did you think about them? So don't forget that the majority are coming from an Adventist background. So I didn't filter out, but you see here the attitudes. Very few thought that Adventists were a sect. Some of them said, I didn't know Adventists at all. You see here. This might be the people who are coming from a non-Adventist background. And some said, Adventists are an interesting church with some specific beliefs. Yeah. Some said, here you see that is raising high. Adventists are quite low-oriented people, gesetzlich. Yeah. And for them is music and clothing quite important, And we see here, if we come to the other end, what is the most dominant opinion? Yeah, the relationship to Jesus Christ is important for Seventh-day Adventists. This was the most common opinion about Adventists. It's a good feedback actually about us. That and the second largest was Seventh-day Adventists are biblical people. They value the Bible quite well. And look at this, almost the same score was connected to the question about nutrition. Yeah, that nutrition questions about nutrition are very much important for Adventists. You know, what to eat, what not to eat, and so on and so on. This is almost that important. Yeah, as reading the Bible. You know. And the next one, you see, how important were following items in your faith development? Yeah, at the beginning, before you made a decision to baptism. And here you see, I have two slides here to this question. Maybe we check the other one first. This is in a priority order, and if we go back to the first one, we see also some details which are interesting. So the question was, I repeat the question, you know, how important were following items in your development of faith? So maybe I just go back, I don't shout it. What do you think? What is the most important for young people in their faith development? Yeah, relationship. What is important for them? Relationship. What else?
Music.
Music. Yeah.
Authenticity of those
Authenticity.
talk about Jesus.
Mhm. Yeah. Let's look at it. You see here, if we start from here, by the higher school, social contact to Seventh-day Adventists in my free time, and talking about faith issues. So social contact and talking about faith issues, communication, spending time together, leisure, you know. And here the second one, activities in our free time, visiting conferences and meetings, and listening to certain sermons and preachings. So you see here also. And then the third one was for Adventists, young people, you know, the teachings of Adventists, that it is biblical what we are teaching. And the fourth one, regular offers or meetings in the church, like having potluck, choir, sport, doing sport. Do you recognize something here? You know? What do you recognize? Looking at this chart here. Food is important.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it's on the fourth place. Like, it's compiled into these other activities, but food is important.
Food is important, yeah?
That's another social.
Yeah, the social life. Spending time outside of the church, eating together, you know, having special programs, you know, having special gatherings for learning. You know, it is important for people. And here visiting the church, you know, and worship service, and here the authenticity of Adventist teachings, you know, they are in harmony with the Bible, you know. But here we see also some items here, the care of church members, you know, and the care of the pastor. If you put all those questions together, which you see a high score, you see here, also here, it is quite high, still high here. So we see that many of the answers are connected to social life. Spending time together, eating together, being connected, you know, receiving support from church members, receiving support from a pastor, you know, emotional connection, you know, and care of the pastor, and so on and so on. This is the feedback of young people. This is important for my faith development, you know. So how would you design church life? If you see this one here, how would you design church life if you would like to reach young people?
More social life.
For example. Yeah.
Powerful sermon.
The discussions or make teams and to work together, or make groups, small groups in the home, and study and make Bible study, or work together in one mission. Or sport, yeah.
Or sport activities, eating
Christian
together.
parties. Christian parties.
Christian parties.
Yeah, Christian parties, yeah. Christian parties, party life, yeah. So more time for gatherings and more time for simply being together.
Picnics.
Yeah, picnics, yeah, it's important, but that's a problem, because usually we don't have time for such activities. Is it true?
No.
We don't have time. Church members, Sabbath morning, we come together, we listen to a sermon, we go home, and if you want to eat, you want to have your children there, not your young people. Is it true? It's interesting. I just observe in Friedenthal. Sometimes we invite students to come to us and we eat Hungarian food. We try to do this in regular basis, and they just like it. They come, we sit down, and then we just tell them food unlimited. Like crepes unlimited. Language unlimited, and they come and they can eat as much as they can. And there's a good time, and we have talked together and we discuss, and really then these are times, special times. We also enjoy, and also they enjoy very much.
But isn't it the combination between the socializing and the teachings that blend together as one thing? Because I could imagine that if you have all these free time activities, it's not enough for the people. Because then you could be a normal social youth club or whatever you want. You need to blend this together to one thing. And I could imagine that was a multiple choice question, not a question where you have only one choice, which is most important for you.
Yes, it was multiple choice. Yeah.
So I think that many people who said that actually they like the socializing also put the Adventist teaching, because this must blend together.
Of course. Actually, I mentioned here by number 1. Here, we don't see the end of this question, but Austausch schon in German, that is actually talking about faith issues. So, having social contact to Adventists in our free time, and have an open discussion about faith issues. That is here, number 1, which is actually the item we are talking about here. That social life is not just for itself, in order to have fun, but to be able to become authentic, and to talk about faith issues in a different kind of atmosphere, not a worship kind of atmosphere, but through personal witnessing or talking about questions people are interested on.
Because I saw from my experience that youth groups who skipped the faith part or the part with the teachings, they broke down. They don't exist anymore, or they became very small, and then refocused on bringing the teachings back in. Because I think it's very important. So the church itself could not exist if you separate one thing from another. You need to all put together and live a faithful life together in community.
Yes, of course. But I don't think they are suggesting the separation of
No.
faith
I never said that.
Yeah.
But because the only thing that I wanted to mention is it's not just the social life.
Yes, of course. Because here also the third place is, the teaching of Adventists. It's also important. But the question is actually all these people became baptized members of the church, of the Adventist church. And they emphasize that I don't think that Adventists are in danger not to teach enough. I think we try to teach, and preach, and we give books. I think our problem is we don't have time, for example, for small group ministry, for sitting down with people and talking to each other. What are you looking for? There's no light. I don't. Okay, let's go to the next one. The questions about a conversion. Who played an important role? Or did a pastor or an evangelist play an important role in your conversion? And we see here that the majority said clearly yes. they had an impact actually upon my faith development. We see about 60% said yes, and about 40% of them said no. That means we see here the part of the pastor or of the evangelist, and we see that especially for those coming from a non-Adventist background, it was important to have someone to lead to and to guide me. So that is the feedback about. Now the next question is interesting. How would you describe actually the Bible study, the preparation for baptism done by the pastor or someone who prepared you for the baptism? How would you describe this preparation? How would you characterize? And here we have quite many items, like interesting, yeah, and presenting the reality, yeah, intellectual, and then having me to make decisions. You know, I had the feeling that I was. They considered me seriously. You know, it was too much theoretical, dogmatic, Christ-centered, spectacular, speculative, empathic, yeah. It motivated me, you know, and then all life areas were. It was connected to all areas of my life, you know, and only few items were in focus. You know, it meant a lot to me. They were logical, and they fascinated me, and so on and so on. So we see here the answers. What we see here, the first is, among the first that is here, they had the feeling that this ministry was important for pastors and people who were responsible for the preparation for baptism. They had the feeling I am important, they care for me, they pay attention to me. And here we also see that they had the feeling that it was interesting for them. Here we see I received hope through it. No? But now I check it on another way. Yeah. We see here some some interesting feedbacks. For example, we see that they had a feeling they are important. They received hope through this teaching, through the Bible study. It was interesting, logical, motivating, you know, and so on. That means they had the feeling that this preparation for baptism was important for the local church. They wanted it. They wanted me, you know, and so on. But at the other end, I discovered something here. For example, here, you see this? They presented empathy. One of the weakest points here, you see? They presented empathy. And we can go back and see this key. We can see here the details of, where is it? Empathy. Here. You see that about 1/3 said, I received empathy. I had a feeling, you know, that they present empathy towards me. About 1/3 said, I can't say anything about it. Yeah, that means they were not convinced. And about 1/3 said, I was missing it. Yeah. I was missing it completely. What does it mean? How do you interpret it?
We want only to baptize people.
Yeah, we were running a program.
Without feelings.
Yeah, with very little empathy and feelings.
We want to change the person without
Mm-hmm.
So some more cognitive approach.
Yeah, more cognitive approach. Yes. What do you think about leadership style, for example, in mission and evangelism? Leadership style. How does it look like?
Authoritaire.
Authoritaire?
Kind of lecturer.
Yeah. lecturing, structured lecturing, with a certain goal of baptizing people, presenting little, actually, empathy. What does it mean if someone is having the feeling, I don't have the feeling that you are presenting empathy to me? What's happening there?
They will withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
So they no longer want to be combined with the church.
Yeah. Thank you.
The pastor for this person is the whole Christian world, and when he didn't became empathy from him, that means that he will not become empathy from the church,
Mm-hmm.
and that can be the end of the relationship.
Yeah. I studied this question a bit more because I had the feeling that it is more than just presenting empathy. It gives us a feedback about our system, how we as a church function. And I have a strong feeling that there's also leadership styles involved, how we think that we should influence people. Actually, leading people means having influence upon them, influencing their life. And what is the way? How did we learn influencing other people? How can we influence others? What is the way we have learned? How can you influence people? How can you become influential?
By your living example.
By a living example? Yeah.
And becoming friends with them.
Have you learned that, and are you doing it, or you are just saying the right answer to the question I'm raising? Is your church operating like that?
What do you mean by living example or what?
Yeah. How did we teach people,
I
church
was
members?
I was in a Bible school, that's why.
Yeah.
I learned it in a Bible
But
school.
my question is about the praxis of the church, our local churches. Or what did we teach about mission? How is mission happening? How can we influence people, impact their life? So what was the teaching of our church?
I think first of all, we need to show acceptance to people, to show them that we are, in a way, liberal to what they are. We want to have a relationship with them. We want to be more than just, I don't know, some known people that we know each other. Something before they came with us, for example, in the church or something else, they have to feel free to be themselves.
Yes. This is a good answer, excellent answer if the question is what we need to do.
Yeah.
But my question is about what we are doing, what we used
What
to
we
do.
are really doing right now.
Yeah, what we are really doing.
Well, in my church, in my home church, we try to do evangelistic meetings on a regular basis with follow-up studies in small groups and personal one-on-one, and some social events for older people, not for and then youth group meetings, of course. And our youth group is doing evangelism too, like with presentations and Bible courses and stuff like that.
Presentation and Bible courses. Thank you. Yes.
Well, I was going to say something similar. We try to make events rather than connect with people personally. In our church, I'd say we make pretty great events, but when it comes to personal engagement, the leaders in the church aren't that well integrated with the youth.
Yes, thank you. That's also my observation that we enjoy running events. Having people there as a group, as listeners, without being a real person involved in conversation. So we want to have viewers or listeners, and we run events and we teach and we preach. Evangelistic meeting means we run a program, and we preach to people, we teach to people, which is not very much the right place for presenting empathy. Like now, I am talking to you. Sometimes I try to present empathy through asking questions. If you don't give me the right answer, I'm not satisfied. I ask the question again. You might think what this guy thinks about us. Are we stupid or what? Which answer does he want to hear or get? You know, and this is not the right place to present empathy, because I know my stuff, what I want to present, and the same is happening also in an evangelistic meeting. Be prepared to teach, to present something logical. Is it true? Also Bible study. We have our Bible studies, 28 beliefs, you know, and we know what we need to cover in order to baptize somebody. Is it true? We need to cover the stuff. So, and they also gave us the feedback, you know, we are well organized, you know, the process is a logical one, you know, and also we try to have them to receive hope, you know. It's interesting, Christ-centered. You see that here? Christ-centered. 50% is not sure. So our teaching is Christ-centered. We are not even with Christ very much empathetic. Yeah? Christ-centered. And here, dogmatic, not very much, but some said yes, yeah. Intellectual, you see here. You know, it's received also quite a high score, which is actually just a teaching style we are presenting through evangelistic meetings, through small group ministry, where we are just leading conversations, topic centered actually, and not very much interested on people's life, because we are not giving them the chance to tell about their questions and sorrows and problems. So one lesson we need to learn actually, leading people today needs a different leadership style than it used to be. In modern era, you could be a good teacher and lecturer, and you could convert people. Is it true? You could conduct good lecturers because people wanted to get knowledge, get to understand something. But today is different. I'm experimenting with students in Friedenshall. I'm teaching leadership, and we have some group activities, creative group activities. For example, we are sitting together. In the group, they get an assignment to make a decision about something. You know, I always select 3 people, and I give them the assignment. Please behave in the first and the second task, so that in the third part of the group activity, people will elect you as a leader, as a consequence of your behavior. So they should behave so in the first and second, in fulfilling the first and second task, that they should present leadership activities. And at the end, I will ask the people, please choose a leader among you. Whom do you want to elect as a leader? And they are supposed to be elected. So they present leadership skills and activities. They want to become leaders actually. How do they behave? You know, they want to solve problems. They want to coordinate the work of the group, because that's what they have observed as leadership style in the church. If you want to become a leader, you need to be active. You know, managing things. What do you say? What do you say? What do you say? In the process, you know, coordinating the process. You know, presenting yourself. That you are listening to people. You solve problems. Is it true? That's the way how we learned what leadership is. In recent years, none of those people, regardless how well they were doing this kind of job, were elected as leaders in the group. Because this is not the leadership style of today's society. Young people accept. What kind of leaders do young people want to have? What is important for them?
A friend.
Yeah, they must be friendly. What else? Authentic. It's very funny. Sometimes they elect leaders. For example, once we were playing this game here. At the end, a guy was elected who said only 2 times something in the group, the whole process. 3 leaders were trying to get attention in the group, you know, and sometimes they overlooked someone. There was one person in the group and said, hey, he raised his hand, please help him to say something. No, let him say something. No, they just contributed to the good atmosphere within the group. No. They just recognize that someone wants to say something, but people are not listening to them. No. At the end, this guy was elected as the leader. What did he do? He just cared for people, tried to create an atmosphere, a well-balanced atmosphere, and usually people are elected as leaders who are behaving like that. Are you contributing to a nice feeling I am having? If yes, I'm ready to accept you as a leader. Are you putting me under pressure? You want to present yourself? Oh, no way. No, I don't like it. So this is the way. So if you want to teach young people faith issues, it is important not to go the old way, the old style of helping people to make decisions. And you should not become an old style leader, an old type leader, but a new type who is ready to care and listen to people, and you are not presenting that you are important, but you are presenting the issue is important, or the other person is important, and this is important feedback here. If we continue, what was important in the development of your faith out of these items here? No.
Das hattest du schon. I mean, you did this already in 19.
Yeah, here. That is the question. What helped you to make a decision for baptism? What helped you to make the final decision for baptism? That is the question 23. And you see here prayer experiences, and friendship to different church members, the lively atmosphere within the church, and something I discovered out of the Bible. I don't present here all the answers, but only the most important answers, and the work of the pastor. You see the differences are not very big here, but these are actually the most important items here. Personal experiences with God, and for example, this helps me. I discovered this about 10-12 years ago. That is important to help people to discover actually that God is listening to them. So also in my education of my own children, I have this principle that I try to connect them to God and help them to make their own experiences. And when my children were young, my daughter was about 2.5 years old, and my son was about 6 years old. And once we were traveling, and they saw, how do you call it in English, sugar cake? This plant, you can see farmers are growing, and people produce sugar out of it. Yeah. Sugar, yeah. Sugar cane, I think, yeah. Sugar cane. Can? Sugar cane. Sugar cane. So we saw that on the right hand side of the road, big mountains of sugar canes, and my son said, "Oh, I want to, what is that?" And we said, "Sugar cane." He heard the word sugar, He said, "Oh, can I get one?" I said, "Oh, maybe, I don't know." He said, "Please stop, I want to go there and get one." I said, "Is that yours?" He said, "No." So if you go there and it's not yours and you take one, how do you call that? Of course stealing, but no one is here. I said, "Oh, it's not ours." And he said, "But I want to get one." I said, "Okay, so what are your options if you want to do something and you are not able to do it? What are your options?" You have two options. Either you manage it by yourself or you ask God to help you. Can you manage it by yourself? And he said, "No." So are you ready to pray to God and tell him your problem and tell him that you want to try it? And he said, "Yes, okay, I do that." And we saw both children, we were traveling in the car, and both children started praying, "Hey Jesus, we want to try the sugar cane. Please give us one." Amen. They were waiting. And my wife looked at me and she said, "How do you get now a sugar cane?" I said, "Did they pray to me?" I'm not the one who was addressed by the issue. That was God, that is God's issue, not my issue, But of course I thought something, because trucks are transporting this sugar cane, and sometimes in a curve they drop some. We always see something on the road. But after traveling about 40 kilometers, I discovered no trucks were coming this way. So there was nothing, not even a molecule of sugarcane. So I was just wondering what is it, and they were just waiting, and they were sleeping. They fell asleep, both children. After about 40-45 kilometers, on the way on the right-hand side, we have found their whole piece, without any harm or damage on it, Sugarcane on the right-hand side, just prepared for us. And I woke my children and said, "Oh, there's something for you from the Lord, And they said, "Oh yeah, let's eat it." I said, "Okay, you can eat it, but who gave it to you?" I said, "Oh, Jesus, what do you say to him?" "No, let's pray." They prayed and cut. Until now, my son is now 16 years old. Will be 17 years old. Until now, this is the living experience in his mind, connecting to Jesus. And we have quite many stuff like this. So what I do, I try to have people also coming from outside. They come to me with problems. Sometimes they try to solve their own problems. The church, in order to present a lovely church. But it is sometimes wrong. Don't solve all problems, Tell him, go to Jesus, he can also care for you, this is a very much important point actually. We are presenting expectations. You must have faith as we are teaching. Is it true? If you want to be saved, you must have faith as we are teaching. All denominations are doing the same. If you want to be saved, you must accept the Bible as we teach you, and you must have faith as we are teaching. But there is only one big problem. Who presents people how to develop faith? Faith development is a difficult issue. We present expectations. You must believe, but we don't tell him how to come to living faith in Jesus. We are not escorting people. So this item is talking about we need to help young people to discover how to connect to God, how to experience His care and His love. Ministry in the church. The question was actually here, how did it happen that you started doing ministry in your church? And there are different answers. From the very beginning, I intended to do something. This is here, and we see about 1/4 of people coming to the church like that. We see here the second one. I wanted to do something, and I looked for some support in the church. And I got some support, that's how I started. I had the third one, about a quoter said that. The third one was, I have some talents, and the church discovered my talents, and they invited me to do something. This is about the same. And you see here something that surprised me, very low score, is attached to the work of the pastors. The pastor came to me and asked me to do something in the church. So we see that pastors are not very much active in integrating young people into church life. And here we see how excellent the work of the church members is. Here, this is the highest score of what we received here. Church members have asked me to do something in the church. So this is a very good feedback actually. We need to support church members whenever they see a person involved in baptism class, go to this person and try to involve him into the ministry. And here the next question, how many hours do you invest in church ministry weekly? And you see here, quite many say less than 1 hour a week. Less than 1 hour. It would be interesting to ask them, how many hours do you invest in watching movies from Hollywood? Some might say maybe 5 to 10 hours a day. 1 to 3 hours, this is the most actually, 1 to 3 hours. About 45% of people. And some said, about 10% says between 3 and 5 hours, and about 4% said more than 5 hours. So very very few people said. That means it shows also the involvement of people. There is very little involvement by quite many, about 40%. You know. If you look back upon your conversion process before baptism, how do you think about following statements? No, and we see here the statements. We see the least success young people are having. This area is mission. You see here. I could lead someone to realization for Jesus Christ. This has received the least score, which is very interesting because usually adults, if they get baptized, in the first 3 or 4 years of their Christian life, they bring people to Jesus. After 4 years, they don't bring people anymore. They learn, they adjust to the church. You know, the way of how the church is designing mission, for example. But we see that young people, even 1, 2, 3, 4 years after their baptism, they are still not able to help someone to make a decision for Jesus Christ. No? And later we also ask a question about how do you feel about Christian life, and they also give the feedback. I don't feel I have been prepared for this ministry, for mission. I'm not able to help someone. I don't have the feeling I have been trained well for doing mission for other people. No? The highest score is here. If I should make this decision today, I should decide the same way. That means I would decide for baptism the same way I just did. That is here. And here, my family accepted my religious views. I have some people I can talk about religious issues openly to. I have some ministry in the church. No. I still accept all 28 beliefs you see here. That is less than 4. So there's a gap. I still accept all 28 beliefs. A couple of years after baptism. Yeah. And then I have received after baptism the same attention and care from the church as I had before baptism. This is quite hard, quite high. Also you see here. It is 3.8. So that shows us that people are still dedicated. They have the feeling that the church cares for them, but there are still actually quite many who are not very much satisfied with it. No, but the weakest point is actually mission, training for mission. They cannot do the same what they experience. They cannot assist others experiencing the same what they experience. You know? These are the items. It's very good. What kind of hindrances did you have before your baptization in the church? What do you think? What is the most, what is the biggest hindrance in the process of conversion for young people? What is your estimation? What is your guess? Relationship? Yes, any other idea? I think this is a very interesting and important feedback.
The intensity of the church members, how do they live their life in front of Vorbild?
Yeah. The example of church members, what they give us, yeah. Whether they give an authentic example. What else?
Yeah, I think many lifestyle issues.
Lifestyle issues?
Maybe not the biggest, but
yes, that's also important. Yeah. Let's look at it. You see here. Here, largest score. I couldn't learn anything out of the sermons.
This is really bad.
I couldn't get anything out of the sermons for my personal life. This is the number one. Yeah, it's interesting, yeah? The sermons are not relevant for my everyday life. The church. Yeah. That is really hard. The second one, lifestyle, questions of lifestyle, you know. And third one, missing personal experiences and prayer experiences with God, you know.
What was the question behind these answers here?
Hier,
Hindrances.
was waren für dich die Hindernisse auf dem Weg zur Taufe in die Adventgemeinde? What hindered you on the way to the church and to baptism in the Seventh-day Adventist Church? That means these items are connected to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, to the local church. You know, and here some tensions and fights in the church. You see, it's very high. You know, these first four are quite high here. You know, comparing to others. You know, and I had the feeling that I've been challenged quite much. You know? But still, if you consider, it is about 40% of people who stated this. You know, if you take the strongest one, not everybody has given this meaning.
A question: do you think the reason because Andrew White is connected to the internet, because people Google research on the internet, or do you think because the issue itself it's sometimes hard to present?
Maybe, I don't know. We should think about it more, but I think maybe the way how we present Ellen White sometimes, you know. It's an authority. Ellen White said, you must do and this. You know, Ellen White said, it is not wise or it is not allowed for girls to wear trousers or something. We quote Ellen White sometimes out of context, you know. And maybe also what people say about Ellen White. Having a prophet is not only a privilege, you know, it is also a challenge in a world where you don't have prophets actually. So it is something unique. And if something is unique, either you are proud of it or you don't talk about it. You know, it depends whether you like it or not. Yeah. And the next one here. Did the pastor talk about following issues before your baptism? And also how intensive he talked about it. We see here the teaching about salvation and God and creation, Christian lifestyle and the church and eschatology, end time issues. And we see here salvation is very high here actually, and the teaching about God, you know, is also quite high, you know, here. Also the other issues, but we see this too. How do you think about it? You like it? I don't like it very much actually. I have one problem with it. I'm not following this way. You know, I don't. Actually, salvation is for me not the number one topic. It is the number one topic in a modern time, but I wouldn't say it is number one topic for me in a postmodern time. What is important for people? Lifestyle. I say that being connected, you know, social life, being connected. So I emphasize much more the teaching about the church. The church as family of God, you know, belonging to God, you know, experiencing, because salvation happens through relationship, also with God. So getting the first the picture of the idea of God. Actually, church means restoration into the family of God. You know, this restoration is also part of the process of salvation. But we see that today, if people don't learn how to relate to each other, they don't discover that the place we call church is a place for relationships with God and with others. You know, it's difficult to have to teach about salvation, because salvation can be also an individualistic issue. You know, being saved. You know, so I emphasize much more the teaching about the church. You know. And salvation is also part of it. But I start with Jesus, who is my friend, who is your friend. We are friends together. This is a big family, fellowship, you know. And why is that Jesus doing? Because he wants to restore the fellowship with him. And we call this process of restoration actually salvation. You know. And because we have sinned and we have done something wrong, he solved this problem through his cross, you know, through his sacrifice. And so I integrate actually the teaching about salvation into the teaching about the church, you know, because it is very much important. So I teach salvation relationship oriented, actually, so that people understand the meaning of the teaching of church, actually, in this context, you know. And the next one here, which topic was for you the most important on the way to baptism? And also people say here the teaching about salvation and the lifestyle, and the rest is almost the same. Eschatology, you know, what is interesting here, what is lost? Yeah, teaching about the church. It's not a miracle, but young people are not very much loyal to the church because we don't emphasize in the teaching what is church, and also they don't learn to value the church, the fellowship of believers.
So, but is this not a contradiction to the other form that you showed, where you said that we should present more the teaching of the church, because teaching salvation or the Christian lifestyle is not so important, or the teaching of God. But now they say, this was for me the most important point, where you said the church should be the most important one.
I think it's difficult to analyze it because if you don't get something explained properly, you don't discover that it might be important for you. So what we see here now, those items which were emphasized the most became also the most important for people. You know, if you would change the way of teaching, for example, more relationship-oriented teaching would also change the feedback about what was important, maybe. But I think we would need to do some further studies about it. So this analysis is not enough to answer the question. I'm not saying that the teaching about salvation is not important. This is not the point I want to make.
Yeah.
I just want to emphasize that also teaching must be relationship-oriented, you know, also to God. Jesus spoke in parables, you know, and the question was, who could transfer to you the faith on an understandable manner, like Jesus was teaching, easily understandably, you know, and who was able to transfer biblical content to you in a way that you can understand it easily. And you see here pastors and people who gave me Bible studies. They received the highest score, you know, and but also the rest is not very low. So that was the last chart. Do you have any questions? You know, actually this questionnaire was more than 10 pages. So what I presented now is just maybe 3-4% out of this study. It could be much more than that. I try to pick up some interesting areas that might be interesting for you. I didn't do much cross-tabulation. It would be also interesting to start doing cross-tabulations to compare different items with each other. But I think still we can get a quite good picture about what they value and how they think. Do you have any questions or comments? Yeah. Was it helpful for you? Yeah, to see? What is your conclusion now? How do you go home? What is the conclusion? Yes?
We're trying to reach the modern person when we live in a postmodern world.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big problem because we have lost the goal.
So if I would conclude, I would say, if I go back to the slides, you remember, we need to think about men, how to reach men in the church. You know, because we saw that we have many more women in the church as men. So, and this has serious consequences. For example, once I made a study about children's Sabbath school, how we are teaching children. What do you think? Whom is it appealing, teaching children? Having a fine setting in a classroom, sitting with children, telling them stories. After the story, we sing some songs, we draw some pictures. Is it good for girls or boys?
Girls.
Girls. And what about boys? What are they doing?
We should play with them.
They want to jump.
Yeah,
And what do we say? Look at the girls, they are brave and fine. Behave like them. We want to make girls out of boys. You know, we expect them to behave like girls. But who is struggling more? It is much more effort for a boy to sit and listen. You know, he's working on it, and he deserves much more appreciation than a girl, because it is nature for a girl just to sit and sing and draw. You know, but at the end, the girls are just doing what is natural for them, and they will be appreciated, and the boys, they are struggling, and their hard work won't be appreciated. They are never good enough. Is it true? It's not a miracle. They grow up in the church like that, even if they become adult, going to the church, singing songs, standing in the church, listening to nice preachings. Is it for girls or for boys? Or for men or for women? No. Where are the worship services for real men? You know, we need to think about it. For example, the language, our pictures, our PowerPoints are speaking. You know, this is also a question. We need to concentrate more on men a bit and do something for men. The second item I would like to emphasize, the conclusion, we discovered that we don't baptize Adventist young men beyond the age of 21, because we don't care for them. They stop going to youth programs, and they don't receive care, and they don't get offers from the church, and most of them, they leave the church. We don't baptize them beyond the age of 21. So we need to think about what to do for young adults, how to help them to be integrated in the church. You know, these are adults in the age of 21 to 31. I presented a chart, maybe I show you. So we need to think about young adults, how to help them to get connected. This is the chart here, conversion, you know. We baptize people until the age of 21. Louis is coming from Adventist background. And after this age, we see that very few persons will be baptized in the age. Although about 60-70% of these young people won't be baptized up to the age of 21. We baptize maybe 30-40% of them. That means 70% remain outside, and we don't care for them. We don't do for them much. Another issue is for me, you know, influence. How do we design the process we want to influence the young people through? So we need to present more empathy, and we need to be ready to create fellowship, and not just to push our agenda. I want to teach you this and that, you know, and preaching. And also, what is important, young people like to talk about faith issues personally to people. They appreciate very much, as you saw. Number one was actually having time for conversation outside of church meetings in a free time, and to be able to talk to people about faith issues, having an exchange about faith issues. You know, that means we need to find time for them and help them to open their hearts and to talk about it. These are some basic principles I would suggest to think about it, and also to design church life a bit differently for young people in order also, for example, sermons. We saw that they are struggling to understand sermons, you know, to adjust sermon to young people, which is difficult, because if you have the 5 young men and 40 elderly people, whom are you preaching to?
To the elderly.
Yeah. How do you manage it, actually? Preaching to everybody, you know, but reaching young people. That is a challenge. How can you solve the problem?
We pray to Jesus.
It's his problem.
Yes, that was.
Sometimes elderly people put a piece of paper in front of the pastor, speak slowly, loudly, langsam, laut, deutlich. What is deutlich? Clearly,
And now you make
If you do that,
12 years or
young people start sleeping. You speak loudly, slowly, clearly, young people.
Do you say that we do baptize too early? That's what you're saying?
No.
No. We're baptizing too late.
No, I'm not talking about this issue. I didn't address this. I didn't address this question because it is not part of the study. Yeah. Why do you ask this question?
Yeah. Well, no.
All of these people have been baptized. We just talked about the conversion process, what they experienced and what helped them on this process. Yes.
I think just to answer your question, I think it's about reaching the people after 21, I think, after 21 and continuing in the process of touching them through their life and reaching each age so that everyone can change their views.
Yes. Another issue I think we need to think about is this mission for adults. You see that we baptize very few adults here. And this is the largest pool for fishing in the society. And this is the smallest one. All societies in Western Europe, having less and less young people. Where are the young people coming from in our societies? Usually they are immigrants, is it true? So that means we are fishing in the smallest pool and we are not having success, we are not working effectively in the largest pool of adults. So we need to think about a mission among adults, because we are not reaching adults. Yes?
It seems that we are living in a transition time. I mean, there are people who are modern and at the same time people who are postmodern. So we need to balance all the time between both. How we can do it when most of the people are modern and not postmodern.
Yeah, like Paul said, the Jews, I must become a Jew. The modern people, I am modern. The postmodern,
Does it mean
I am postmodern.
that both groups will be separated?
I think the pastor needs to be an adjusted cultural person, being able to lead the both things.
What did you say? Approachable person or cultural person?
Adjusted. So we need to be able to adjust to both cultures, the modern and also the postmodern. You cannot present to elderly people a postmodern approach. They have the right to have their own style in the church. Because they grew up like that, they loved that, they don't want to change. It's fine, okay. So we need to serve them according to their needs. But it doesn't help young people which are growing up in a postmodern world. So we also need to recognize how we can serve them in their own needs.
Yeah, since you were talking about that we are not good in reaching men, or let's say we don't focus on our programs on men, what do you think can we do or can we change?
Once I was in the North American Division, I talked to some leaders there, and they told me they started a project, a church planting project in Los Angeles. And they designed a very nice program, the best singers and everything. They put a lot of money into it. And they reached about almost 80% women. And they were shocked, because they thought they wanted to have a balanced church, And almost 80% women came to the church and very, very few men. And they started thinking about it, and they also contacted some psychologists and professionals, to analyze the worship service and everything they are doing. And they discovered men love different songs than women. We need to ask also men, which song is your song? And we need to listen to them. And also they analyze the picture, the language our pictures are speaking. If you put flowers there, a nice color, which color is able to reach men and which color is able to reach women, you know. There's a difference between them. So they change the color, they change the style of PowerPoints, you know. They change the music, they change also the greeting, how they greet people, you know. They change also some settings in the church. They could raise the portion of men up to almost 50%. You know. So there are many different questions we need to answer, you know.
Do you have a paper?
No.
Something?
It happened through a personal conversation. They told me the story. You know, so I haven't read papers, but I think we need to think about men, and we need to listen to men, because actually men are doing programs, but very often men are doing programs for women, which is nature. They like that attention of women, you know. And sometimes they are doing programs for women, but we need to remember, you know, how men think and what they value and how they behave, actually. And maybe one option could be that we organize clubs for men, yeah, where they are just among themselves, you know. If a woman appears there, you know, it is changing the whole thing. You know. And you can design something, and you can learn from them how they behave, how they talk, what they do, also the topics, you know. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Now the time is over. I wish you a good evening. You know, enjoy yourself. God bless you.
Thank you.